the Montreal Canadiens just made a major statement versus the Boston Bruins in the most important game of the season, which is every game at this point. A massive victory coming on the back of Nick Suzuki being the highest scoring Habs since Alex Kovalev, and the reincarnation of Kovalev himself, Christian Dvorak, getting on the board, along with a third line capped off by very unselfish Jake Evans on the empty net with Nick Suzuki. This has huge implications going forward as Montreal takes sole possession of the wild card spot with the same amount of games as the teams below them. We got to dive into everything that Montreal just did, but also a note on a player that just signed with Montreal, someone we're all so excited about. All of that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. Guys, we just passed 19,000 subs. Our goal was 20,000 before the end of the season. With Montreal rolling like this and you want to stay up to date all season long and all playoffs long, hit the free subscribe button down below. Even if you think you have already, just double check. We're going to be here with you every single day after every single game. Jesse, before we talk about the game though, there's a big bit of news going out there now. It's not official yet. Unfortunately, can't say it is, but no, not that. This here. Marco D'Amico saying, and Murphy's Law and a bunch of other people saying the Habs prospect Jacob Fowler has signed his entry-level contract for the 25-26 season, and he will join Laval on the amateur tryout. Expect an announcement shortly. Hasn't officially happened yet, but as of just about 15-20 minutes as of the recording of this video ago, Renaud Lavoie said nothing official yet in the Fowler contract. They're still working on it, but that being said, could be sealed in the next few hours. Boston College Hockey Blog said they're hearing that he's signing with the Montreal Canadiens as well. Jesse, look, we love our boy Jacob Fowler. We're so excited to have him, and to hear he's going to Laval right now, it just made me even more excited than I already was.
Absolutely. This is amazing news. This is the ideal situation. He's ready. He just dominated college hockey. And you know what? I'm here for him for kind of taking that next step. Great bit of work by Kent Hughes, but also obviously like Fowler, just nothing left for him there to do at that college level. So just excited to see what he does, kind of get into Laval very soon. Again, a very strong team, just getting stronger. You have to feel, even though shout out to Connor Hughes, obviously a valiant effort. We know that the future is now for the Montreal Canadiens, for the Laval Rockets. So, all seeing this kind of come together. Now the question is going to be how long will Jacob Fowler stay in Laval before he inevitably makes his way to the Montreal Canadiens? I know we're just so excited to see how this all pans out. And again, another very important chapter in his story right now.
You gotta wonder how the other teams in the AHL are looking at Laval, who is by far the number one seed in the entire league by 5 whole points. With 7 games remaining, first you got to wonder how many games of those Fowler's going to get. Maybe he'll get a handful of them, right? Primeau's been amazing, but the Rocket have nothing to prove now. They can afford to lose 3 straight games in their last 7, and it won't even matter. They'll still be the number one seed. But we're excited to see what he does. Again, in my opinion, in our opinion, the best goalie in college hockey is now officially a Montreal, well, I guess a Laval Rocket, but signing that ELC for next year to be a Montreal Canadien. Super excited to see what's happening with him, Jesse. We brought in Hudson this year. We're bringing in Fowler now. We're bringing in Demidov next year as well. The injection of talent is crazy for a team that's already incredibly talented. Getting this win against the Boston Bruins. What a game. Dominance from start to finish as the Boston Bruins have lost 10 in a row. Fun fact, their former coach Jim Montgomery has won 10 in a row with the Blues. How the turntables. But right now, Montreal, Jesse, they showed up like absolute crazy in this game. From start to finish, this wasn't even close. This is a statement that they needed to make, and they did in convincing fashion. And now, if there was ever any doubt at all that they'd make the playoffs, that's gone in my mind. This has been an unbelievable run.
For sure. And we're going to lock it down through the stretch just to really secure that. But as you mentioned, from beginning to end, I think that that's so key. Starting this game off right, kind of on time, I think has been a big kind of motto kind of in the Habs dressing room lately, whether it's Lane Hudson and others. And then the second, another key thing of this, Josh, is beating the teams we can beat. That we should be beating. Mm-hmm. We're knocking off the Florida Panthers, taking care of business there, but then kind of following up with, this big kind of emphatic, win kind of, and a solid effort throughout for me is huge. Taking care of that business and kind of building the game as it went on. They had that pressure early on, but they saw that they just started allowing less, opportunities for Boston as it went on, while still increasing their output offensively in that second period, really just kind of taking over. But of course, the most impressive thing, Josh, against a vet team, against a team that was in a playoff spot for a large part of the season, really taking care of the business in that third period. And again, like there was a certain point, like in that third, like Swayman visibly frustrated because he was getting bombarded from all angles from the Montreal Canadiens. You got Slaf in his kitchen. Everybody's there just kind of forechecking Evans, of course, making so much things happen. So again, like an amazing team effort, but the big guys, really showing up for this team tonight.
A lot of us thought this was going to be a trap game, like a team that had lost 9 in a row. Like the Bruins would love nothing more than to beat the Canadiens and hurt their playoff chances, but they couldn't match us. Like that team, there's something going on in their locker room. If you've seen some interviews recently, the team is absolutely reeling, and there's a reason that they're right at the bottom of the Eastern Conference with the second worst goal differential in the entire conference right now, as Montreal is sitting confidently with that 81 points in that playoff spot. This is the big thing out of today, and like this was a much needed win. They got it. Their home record is absolutely amazing. It's better than some playoff teams. It's better than the Devils, for example, but right now Montreal absolutely needed that. But Jesse, you came on the backs of some fantastic players, and before we get into Nick Suzuki, who is absolutely amazing tonight, I wanted to shout out Brendan Gallagher because he scored again tonight, of course. He now has 10 points in his last 9 games. He's playing big games when it matters the most. Credit Canadiens Muse for posting this, and like absolutely unbelievable for him right now. He has been rocking and rolling, getting goals. He has 19 goals, and if I read the stat correctly, Jesse, I believe that's the most goals for any player averaging under 14 minutes of ice time per game. And again, 5v5s where he gets most of his points. That's where he's always been most effective. What a gamer he is. I mean, look, 6.5 million, whatever. I don't even care at this point. Heart and soul of the team. About to put up a 20-goal season after we thought those days were long gone. What a bounce back it's been for him.
And staying healthy, right? And you have to feel like with everything he's kind of went through this season, like so well rewarded. And he's showing like if he can be in the lineup, he's going to have that amazing effect. He's going to find ways to get the puck in front of the net like he did tonight and bury it with, quite frankly, impressive finishes. Like it's been a couple games now where we're just seeing him just go top cheese and just, like some beautiful finishes. Of course, being right there in the kitchen to give himself some solid chance in classic Gallagher fashion. But again, when we're talking about having that heart of this team and kind of willing ourselves to the playoffs, like we can't forget about Gallagher being such a big part of this process as well. There's no way where this team kind of claws their way back after the Four Nations without having a Brendan Gallagher type in that locker room. I think it's a natural segue to a guy also like a Cayden Guhle, who was just playing so tough tonight when it really kind of mattered. Again, the game within the game. This is what matters. Having him back ahead of schedule before the stretch, like who knows? Maybe he's kind of battling maybe an injury just a little bit, even though he's not 100%, just to be out there because he knows how important these games are. And guess what? He's having effect. So he's being an absolute trooper right now for this team, and everybody's just doing everything they can.
Drop in the midst tonight. Did not expect to see that from a guy still recovering from a lacerated quad. I mean, I know you don't fight with your quads, but still, like, the guy comes back from an injury. He's like, I don't care. He went straight to the locker room, which worried me after that fight, but I think it was just to, fix up some little boo-boos on him. But he was more than good after that. Unbelievable stuff. Him dropping the mitts and stuff. And again, one final thing I also wanted to mention before we talk about Nick Suzuki here. With Montreal's win tonight, they've now jumped up to a 739 points percentage. They're now 17-6 versus the Atlantic Division this season. Montreal is the third best team in the entire NHL at winning games in their own division. Look at the other teams here, and then look at the Montreal Canadiens. They're taking care of business where they need to do it. And that brings us, Jesse, to Nick Suzuki. And he's been a huge part of this, of course. 81 points now on the season in 75 games. 29 points in 19 games since the Four Nations. The first 80-point season by any Montreal Canadien since Alex Kovalev back in 07-08. One more point in their last 7 games. And Nick Suzuki, well, he'll be a point-per-game player. And again, our first one as well since Kovalev. So he has the ability to put up more points than Kovalev did. This guy is unbelievable. His name's going to go down in the Habs history books if it hasn't already after that 2021 playoff run and his amazing progression. But I don't know. I can't say any more about Nick Suzuki. I think he's now tied for 5th as well among all centers and points. Jesse, what's there left to be said that we haven't said already? This guy's unreal.
Just so much to celebrate, right? Well, like 81 points from Suzuki. We're getting, 35 goals on the year from Caufield. We're having Slaf that's being a big part of that success, getting assists, contributing, to this as well. But I mean, Nick Suzuki being clutch, again, that combination of just, kind of having that, being so cool under pressure, slick Nick, but at the same time, like, the skill to finish it off in those elite circumstances. Being cool under pressure isn't good enough unless you have the skill like Nick Suzuki has in close, amazing stick handling ability to kind of thread the needle on a very high difficult level play to Cole Caufield there. Like that dynamic duo again. And it's just amazing the chemistry that these guys have. The fact that Cole Caufield having the trust in his teammate, knowing he's going to get it to me. I just need to be in the right spot and be ready for it when it comes our way. And I think when you have a team like that can really, they just have such chemistry. They know where they're going to be. It's such confidence kind of going forward where you can kind of bank on it at a certain point where some things just become automatic with this team. But 2-on-1 with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield, we've seen it so many times this year. It's just absolutely lethal. And again, it was tonight when we needed it the most.
And you know what? It feels like it's there every night recently when we need it the most. Nick Suzuki, since that Four Nations break, has been top 4 in the NHL in scoring. And I think he might have jumped to 3rd with this game. I'm not totally sure. But other names like Rupe Hintz, Nikita Kucherov right up there with him. And there's a reason that Nick Suzuki's up there. And in my mind, there's no doubt he's the Mitchell Stevens player of the game. Shout out Jake Evans as well on that empty net. Evans hasn't scored in like 15 games. He had 2 assists tonight as well, which is awesome to see for Jake Evans. Assist on the Galley goal as well. But right now, it's got to be Suzuki, right, Jesse? I mean, this guy's leading us to the playoffs one game at a time, just like Kent asked him to.
Oh, that's it. And what could you ask more? But again, there's like a one thing of kind of saying it and then doing it. And there's been multiple times where he's really kind of put on his shoulder and just said, I need to be better. And then he then proceeded to just kind of get better even from that. And I think that that's really impressive for really a young team. We did pick the right captain for this team. Quite frankly, he's impressing me on the ice. He's impressing me off the ice kind of with his responses. And he's really just the leader that this team needs. And they're really responding right now.
It's unbelievable to witness what's happening right now. Major statement. We need another one come against the Philadelphia Flyers. So pumped about it. And if you want to stay up to date, you want to see our reaction, let's talk about all the latest Habs stuff, hit the subscribe button down below. You know how it is. That'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like while you're down there as well. Doesn't hurt. Actually helps us a lot more than you could think. So thank you all so much for watching every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.